Welcome to this video on how to avoid getting yourself hacked. Now, a lot of us probably know that this week, one of the big YouTube content creators, Linus Tech Tips, actually got hacked by a hacker who sent a malicious PDF file to a member of the Linus Media Group team. Now, the PDF file appeared to be a sponsorship offer from a legitimate company, but it actually just contained malware that allowed the hacker to access the team's member's account and then steal their session token. Now, a session token is a piece of data that allows a user to stay logged into a website without having to enter their password each and every time. Now, once that hacker stole that session token, they were able to access the Linus Tech Tips YouTube channel and make changes to that channel, including deleting videos and live streaming videos promoting a cryptocurrency scam. Now, this type of thing can be a huge hit to any company or an individual person, and in general, I'd say most people don't have the ideal night of running around the house naked trying to save your account from hackers, but that's exactly what was happening to Linus Tech Tips. Now, with cyber attacks becoming increasingly more common, protecting your online security is even more important than ever. So, in this video, we're going to share a couple of tips to help you stay safe and secure online. Now, tip number 1. This may seem pretty basic, but if it wasn't a common problem, we wouldn't even be addressing it in this video. Now, you gotta use strong passwords. When you create a password, make sure it's at least 8 characters long, including a mixture of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. Personally, I like to use passwords that are at least 14 characters long because this takes a lot longer for a hacker to break into. Also, you need to avoid using the same password for multiple accounts, because if somebody hacks one of those sites, they can then reuse your password on every other site you have. So make it harder for the hackers. Make sure that you have every single password different for each and every website. Now, for example, if you use something like your dog's name in Facebook and a hacker knows your dog's name, they're going to be able to guess your password. So don't do that either. Always use something unique and strange and long and hard to remember. Now, if that happens, what you should be using is a password manager to keep track of all these passwords in an encrypted format so you can use them whenever you need without having to memorize every single one of these passwords. Now, the next tip I have is to use two-factor authentication. This is going to add an extra layer of security for all of your different accounts by requiring a second verification step, such as a code being sent to your phone or a biometric scan. This makes it much harder for hackers to access your accounts, even if they have your password, because without your phone or your text message code, they're not going to be able to get into it. Now, there's lots of different ways to get past this, so you still have to be cautious even if you're using two-factor authentication, but again, this is another thing to help you and prevent you from getting scammed or hacked. Now, in the case of Linus Tech Tips, it actually took them quite a bit to regain control of their accounts because the hacker was able to bypass two-factor authentication and instead access that session token without needing to enter the two-factor authentication code. And again, this is why it's important to use more than one form of security whenever possible, because if two-factor authentication was enabled, it would have prevented a lot of these issues. Also, make sure you're careful whenever you're opening an email, because any file you open could be legitimate or it could contain malware. Now, the third tip I have is to be cautious of phishing scams. Phishing scams are attempts by hackers to trick you into giving them your personal information, such as your login credentials or credit card information. These phishing emails are getting trickier and trickier to spot, and that is a lesson that Linus Tech Tips has just learned the hard way when somebody opened that file and fell for that phishing scam. Now, this is where good training becomes important, because if your team has been trained on how to avoid phishing scams, you're going to be less prone to an attack. Now, here's a time for a shameless plug. Here at Dion Training, we have online training courses to keep you and your company safe. So be wary of emails or messages that ask you to click on links or to enter information. Always verify the sender's identity before you take any action, and make sure you're training yourself and your staff on how to identify and report these phishing scams. Now, moving on to our next tip. Keep your software up to date. Hackers often target out-of-date software that has known security vulnerabilities. So, if Windows just released an update and you haven't updated yet, you are vulnerable to attack. Make sure you're always using regular updates to all of your software, including your operating system, your web browser, your antivirus, and other productivity tools that you may be using to protect yourself from these types of attacks. Now, the fifth tip I have is to use a VPN. Anytime you're on a public network, you want to be using a VPN. Now, a VPN, or virtual private network connection, is going to encrypt your internet connection and hide your IP address, and makes it much harder for hackers to intercept your data or track your online activity. Now, tip number 6 is always log out of your accounts whenever you're finished using them. Now, I know this can be a pain in the butt, but it does help prevent unauthorized access to all of your accounts, including if your device is lost or stolen. So remember this mantra in security. If it's easier for you, it's also easier for attackers. And therefore, you want to make it a little bit harder on yourself by adding these additional security measures, because it will make it much harder for those attackers and hackers. Tip number 7, familiarize yourself with the latest scams. Now, one of the best ways of not getting hacked is to be generally aware of the ever-evolving scam techniques that are out there. By recognizing these scams for what they are, it'll help you keep yourself secure and always staying one step ahead of those attackers. Now, here's my last tip for you. I want you to regularly review your online activity. Check your account activity regularly and make sure there aren't any suspicious logins or transactions. If you notice anything unusual, I want you to go and change all of your passwords immediately and then contact the relevant authorities if you think you've been hacked and you need to get law enforcement involved. So, with all those tips behind us, the last thing I wanted to say is if you're concerned about the security of your company's sensitive data and the information you have, and you're always worried that your employees might not be as savvy as you are and they might actually fall for these scams, then I recommend you get them some training. We understand that security is a top priority for any business here at Dion Training, and that's why we have comprehensive training programs designed to help you and your employees avoid getting hacked and keeping your company's data safe. Our expert trainers have years of experience in cybersecurity and can provide you and your employees with the knowledge and skills you need to protect your company from cyber threats. Our training programs cover a wide variety of topics, including how to recognize phishing emails and other common scams, best practices for password management, how to securely use company devices and networks, how to identify and report suspicious activity, and much more. By investing in the training, you can ensure that your employees are equipped with the knowledge they need in order to keep your company's data safe. Don't wait until it's too late. Contact us today and learn how we can help protect you and your company's sensitive information from cyber threats. And there you have it. By following these tips, you can help protect yourself and your online security. Linus Tech Tips was able to recover from the hack and restore their YouTube channel pretty quickly, but the experience taught them a valuable lesson in security. They now have stricter security measures in place, and they're more careful about what emails and files they're going to open in the future. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there online.